Pricing your personal training services can be a daunting exercise. You're not sure if you're charging enough and you keep comparing it to the competition. And you're worried about your future. You're also worried that if you increase the price, some of your actual clients might leave. Today I will show you how to price correctly your personal training services to have a business that thrives, considering all the possible options in terms of cost and overheads. I personally went through exactly the same problem. I remember the early days when I started, I really didn't know what to charge, especially because I also moved to a different area, so everything was totally new for me. And to start to get some clients, I went for undercharging my clients compared to the competition. That became immediately a problem because I realized at my own expense that wasn't enough to cover my basic living cost. So I found myself forced to make the decision to actually increase the price, but I was really worried that some of my clients would leave or that I would actually lose business by doing that. In reality, that was a necessary step to take, and it kept me going till now. To determine the right pricing for your service, we're gonna take in consideration three main factors. The first one is your actual cost. The second one is going to be competition research, and the third one is your personal factors. To make it easy for you to understand, we are going to create here together a spreadsheet with the list of things I want you to have a look at, and then how to apply those numbers to the end price, basically. So we're gonna start with a very simple list. We're gonna have a cost list first. So we're gonna have, I don't know, travel, rent, then I don't know, electricity, gas, and let's say personal cost. I don't know if there is any other cost you need to add for each session you're doing with your clients, and then others. Okay, so you need to understand how much it costs you to have a 1 hour session with your client. So let's estimate some numbers. Let's say you need to travel to client's home or you have to travel to the gym. Consider the travel time, cost like petrol or the car itself. So let's round up the numbers. And let's say, for example, to go and come back from a location, it's gonna cost you, we're in UK, so £5. Then the rent proportionally to that hour is going to be possibly at the £5. The electricity, gas, and combined together, if you have any, is gonna be, for example, other £3 in total. So 1.5 and 1.5. Okay. Oh, 1.5. Yeah, there you go. So then we add the personal cost. If you are providing, for example, any drinks to your client, if you are, I don't know, bringing fruits with you to give to them or electrolytes, that's something that I commonly do. So that's an extra cost that I'm adding. So between the personal things and others to add, I will say it will be like another £1 each. Let's round it up because not everybody will actually take that. So now let's have a sum of that one. So we have a total of £15. So we know already how much we are going to charge on that. Obviously, one thing we did not consider is this guy here, taxes. Okay, most of us, when we price for personal training, we don't consider the fact that we have to pay taxes on it. And a good way to round up the numbers is to have a 20% added to the number that you're generating. So 20%. So is added £3 on the top of it. So now we consider these as subtotal, and this one becomes a total, which is equal this plus this. So we now know more or less how much it's gonna cost you from your own pocket to have an hour of personal training. If you charge anything less than that, you're already making losses. On this other column, we are going to look at the competition pricing. So we're gonna try to look at websites from your other PT in the area, and you're gonna write down the pricing that they are charging for clients, possibly for the hour, or depends if they're having any packages. So we're gonna have X, Y, and Z, and we're gonna have, for example, sometimes you find people having a high-end service. So you're gonna look at a pricing that in this area it will be around £80, for example. Then somebody in the middle, I will say 55, and then somebody on around 35. Now, I know that in this area there are also people charging £20. Okay, so that's quite low, as you can see, compared to the £18 that you need to actually just to perform the session with your clients. £20, it feels very risky, and you need to see as well if it's actually generating any quantity as well, because that low price, it should generate a lot of inquiries, it should be more attractive to people, but it's not necessarily that, because sometimes low pricing can make people think that you are not really competent in your field, so they might skip you. So now we want to have an average of all these numbers. So we're gonna take the average formula of here and we try to bring it all the way down. People in average charge £47.50 in this area where I'm living. As you're doing your research, you will be good if you keep all these windows open, because you want to check qualifications and the age and the area and where they provide the service, simply because you want to compare it to yourself. I mean, pricing sometimes on the higher end includes a private personal training studio, big packages with a lot of PDFs or maybe some t-shirts or something like that provided within the session. So those are people who are possibly increasing their initial cost, but they're getting more return from it. Let's now check your personal factors. Those includes basically your qualifications, your experience, and what you bring to the table basically. Your age, that's another thing, is a very important factor. I mean, I had clients telling me clearly that they won't pay what they're paying to me if I was a 20 years old just qualified PT, simply because I'm too young, I don't have enough experience, even though I will theoretically know more than them because I've studied that, but they will still not appreciate that just because of the age. So let's now determine your pricing. Going back again to the spreadsheet, let's say for instance we have done a further research and we checked pretty much everybody who is in the area. So we're gonna have more cases, more pricing to add up. So we're gonna have a B, C, C and D. So, and let's say that the most common amount is around 30 and 25. So we have found that there are more people charging their sort of money. So instead of stopping where we decided earlier on, we're gonna stop here in a second. Now we have an average price that we can work from. And we have a total here that if it's incorrect, I will suggest you go through and make it more real. For example, I believe that the cost for the rent is a little bit too low. It could be actually more, but let's consider it that. You need to take into consideration as well your home costs, because those are just the cost of the unit you're possible to rent or where you're actually having your clients in. But let's say for instance you don't have a rent to pay in the gym because you're paying by hours. I mean, you do your hours in there. And so electricity and gas. I would suggest you to put your personal cost on this and say, okay, if you have a rent to pay, if you have electricity to pay, if you don't live with your parents, you're gonna have to pay all these things. If you haven't done that yet, you can add that as a personal cost, like an average if you wish to. And let's say you know that you need to work a certain amount of hours to cover your private costs, let's say at £10. Okay, so you now know that we have another total, which is this plus that. Okay, so now it's become 28. If you want to make a profitable business, you need to at least make 30% on the top of it as a profit. So you got that times 30%. So we know that we need to add to that total at least £8.40 to generate your price. So your price is going to be here, equal this plus the 8.40. And if we actually look at it, it's not far from the average price that people are charging around here. Now that we have the basic price for 1 hour of work, I will show you what I will do with it. This is pretty much the same way I work at the moment. So I offer 1 session per week, then I offer 2 sessions per week, and then I offer 3 sessions per week. I will also work on a 4-week basis only. So what it means is my packages are gonna have only 4 weeks included of services for 1 session per week, 2 sessions per week, and 3 sessions per week. And I'm gonna create 3 packages that will somehow create more interest for people, especially if they want to spend a little bit less or a little bit more. You are basically creating 3 different products. On the first package, I'm gonna go up in price. So people will have to pay more per session, but the total will be less. So we established that we need to make at least £36.40 to actually pay all our costs. So what I will do instead, I'm gonna create a package where I'm gonna charge £40 per session times 4 weeks. So we know the first package is going to be £160. On the second package, we are going to charge our clients a little bit less, but we know we're gonna sell more sessions this time. We want to still be above the average price that we just established. So I'm gonna go for 38 times 8 sessions this time, so twice a week for 4 weeks. And that's what comes out. On the third package, we are going to do something similar. Now we can go for the minimum price, which is at £36 times 12 sessions. And that's going to be the last price, okay? So we basically established now that those are going to be our 3 products, the once, twice, or 3 times per week sessions, and people can select which one suit them most with their lifestyle and with what they had in mind. I also do the same thing for my group training. So I basically take exactly the same concept and I apply it to my group training. So if I know that 36 is my minimum and here I've charged 40, you need to understand my groups are still personal training sessions. So I wouldn't go for too cheap. If you can manage to put, for example, 5-6 people in a group on the same hour, now your hourly income is going to increase by just decreasing instead the price for the PT sessions. I'll give you an idea. Let's say, for instance, we're going to charge £15 per session, and we're going to do times, obviously, 4 weeks. So 1 session per week is going to be £60, which is quite cheap. And then we do something similar. Here we charge £15. Then here we are going to charge a little bit less. So if people have more sessions, they pay less. So let's say, for instance, it's £13, but times 8 sessions this time. So we got a bigger price that you can now charge for 2 sessions. And the last one, we are going even cheaper. So let's say £12 a session times 12 sessions. So 144. We have generated a new product. But we know that there is one thing we need to consider. Because now we are charging for groups, we need to consider the hourly income times how many people are going to turn up. So in this case, it's going to be this one times, we say, a maximum of 6 people. There you have it. You can actually make £360 for the same 4 hours of work per month, which is also equal to £90 an hour. So we are now making well over double the money that we decide to do for the personal training sessions. But imagine if we now apply the same calculation on all other guys here. Just by looking at the spreadsheet, you can see that if you fill up the class completely, you're gonna have an income for each of them of at least £72 an hour at the lowest. So it's quite good to think that if you have the space, you should be doing some semi-private personal training. You have just possibly found out that you are undercharging for your service. So what you have to do? Well, you're supposed to increase the pricing and make sure that everybody knows about those changes. How can you do that? Well, I've done that in past, so I'm gonna show you an email that I've done before. This is an email I sent to my clients a few years back where I had to change the pricing because obviously my costs, my overheads were increasing rapidly. That's what I wrote. Hi, due to the inflation and price increases, Umax Fitness, starting from the 15th of May, is increasing the price of the semi-priority personal training sessions from £50 to £60 for one session every 4 weeks and from £90 to £100 for 2 sessions every 4 weeks. Umax Fitness is committed to offering the quality you expect and deserve. The price increase will allow us keeping improving our service and add new features. If you already have an ongoing membership, this will be in effect from your next invoice or payment. We greatly appreciate your continued business and support through this time of changes. If you have any further questions about the price changes, please do not hesitate to reach out. We will be more than happy to discuss the situation with you. Kind regards, blah blah blah. So you generally send this kind of email a month before you actually applying the changes. Those is only valid for the old clients. Any new clients, you should be able to display the new pricing straight away. In my case, my clients have been very understanding about the changes I was making and the why. I mean, I wouldn't be able to support myself till now if it wasn't for that. And most of those clients, they're still actually with me, so I'm very pleased with that. If you haven't yet, go and check out our video on how to set up a personal training business in 2024. That's more an all-around piece of information that you can use for your actual personal training business if you have one running already. Don't forget to subscribe and like the channel if you found this valuable, and I will see you on the next one. Ciao!